Welcome, everybody, to Dynasty 365, the Dynasty Fantasy Football podcast here at Fantasy and Frames. I'm your host, Jorge Edwards, and with me, I got my co-host, JT Orange, a.k.a. JT. We got Aidan Weingartner, A. Weingartner 13, all of us over on the X/Twitter machine. Gentlemen, it's been a while, with redraft season and weekly, information. We, much like many of you in the Dynasty community, kind of put Dynasty in the rear view until after the season's over. But we thought, we got to come on air at least once a month and just talk about like what's been the fallout of everything that's been going on this season. Last episode was last month. We talked about the Risers and Fallers after September. And today we're going to talk about the Risers and Fallers after October, and then so on and so forth. You get the point. And then, of course, once we get into next year, it's rookie evals, it's free, all sorts of, rookie content leading up to the NFL draft. And then before you know it, we got startup draft conversations and rookie draft conversations. And oh my God, that is so far away, yet it's so close at the same time, isn't it, Aidan?
Yeah. Obviously, you said at the top, Jorge, not to belabor the point even more, but obviously we're in redraft season right now. I do the weekly waiver article, which you can check out fantasyandframes.com every week. But it's just nice to check in with you guys once a month here, just check in with the Dynasty community, with consumers and, people who watch our show as a whole. But I'm very excited for rookie season. Obviously, that's still 3 or 4 months away, give or take. But yeah, fun to check in with you guys at least once a month here on the program and network to kind of check in where the Dynasty pulse is, if you will.
Absolutely, JT. I mean,
I'm already in a deep. I've already done my 2026.
He's already on
my
the
2027 first round mock drafts for
27.
DLF. I've got my 26 and 27. You can find those over at DLF. I've got 2 updated ones coming here near the end of the season. I put ones out earlier this year. I also got another DLF article coming out where I'm going to be breaking down draft picks for the upcoming draft, where I think who you can trade for those, whether you're trying to get a player or whether you're trying to move players for picks. I've got that article coming out later this week. So that will be out there. If you're someone that's in the dynasty mode and you're either trying to go for it all or trying to get rid of guys, hit me, check me out there over on DLF. I'll have that article out.
So I have made a conscious effort to at least be more knowledgeable about college football that's going on and just being in the know as far as just what's going on. For me, as a fantasy analyst, I those names become ingrained into my memory, short term and long term. They'll be ingrained in 2026. And not to mention, if I spent every single day watching football or analyzing football, I'm pretty sure I would have a big bump on my head every single week we're on a show together, because my wife would be like, no.
We'll get there when we get there.
Well, yeah, exactly. We'll get there when we get there. But anyhow, folks, it is.
That's why I get yelled at every day. I watch football every day of the week. My daughter's like, there's another game on. I'm like, yes, of course there's a game on. And then there's hockey on right now. So it's amazing that I stay in any relationship. I watch way too much sports. It's amazing. Like Thursday through Sunday, locked in. I got games. I got everything. So yeah, it's pretty bad. My girlfriend loves when football season's over. I'll just tell you that.
Yeah, but now, JT, you got me hooked on hockey season, and now it's like I got my first win in fantasy hockey this past week. So
I know, congratulations. It's hockey's been off to a great start. Anybody who missed our show last night? We didn't have a show last night. A couple guys were at the Illinois basketball game. Huge win for the Illini over Texas Tech. I wasn't feeling great, so we moved the show to tomorrow night. So if you missed Around the Ice here on Fantasy and Frames, it will be on Thursday night. So catch us there. We will update you on everything going on. And we were planning on talking about your win, Jorge. Nice little good win for you to get things moving.
Don't be so nice to me. Every week, Aidan, they're always like, in this SOB, Jorge, he hasn't had a win. He's showing up all confident. Loser. What a loser. Yeah, exactly. We got a comment here from Jamie. He said, someone just traded away Burrow and Hubbard for Monangai, Jake Ferguson in a late 26 second and third. And it's in a 10-team Superflex half PPR tight end premium.
That's embarrassing, but
yeah.
You got to get a minimum of a 1 first in there. I mean, at least Well, at first I was gonna say late 26 first. That's not even enough. And then I was like, oh, it's a second. That's not even close to enough. Not even close.
Veto that.
This is how crazy off that is. I offered someone Herbert, and I was overpaying because I'm like in the lead in this league, and I should bring home the title. But I'm sitting with Geno as my second QB, and I'm real nervous about it. So I was like, man, I really need to get it. I offered for Justin Herbert, and I thought I went heavy because I wanted to come out of the gate swinging. I went 27 first and second, 28 first and second, just because I don't have any 26, so I'd move them. Offered those 4 picks for Herbert, and he came back like nowhere near enough and wanted like 3 more players on top of the 4 picks. Which
for Herbert?
But I'm like, I started looking at my team, and I'm like, dude, if I make this trade, like, I'm going to have absolutely nobody on the bench, and I'm going to, because it's like a start 12 league, and I'm like, I'm going to be really hurting. So, to not even get 1 first for Burrow is brutal right there.
Somebody sent me a trade in one of my leagues this morning. It was a 1-for-1, and I can't believe they did it because I think they were thinking I was in redraft mode.
Dynasty trade?
It was a dynasty trade. It was AJ Brown for Bucky Irving straight up. I was like, you have got to be off your rocker. And then, of course, like literally after I reject the trade, I sent a counter proposal. I said it for... it's escaping me right now, but I try to make it a little bit more fair, include some draft pick compensation that got here we go. I was like, okay, you want Bucky Irving? Give me Amari and Hampton. There you go. There's your 1-for-1 trade. And
that's rare to see a straight up trade in Dynasty like that, though.
Right, exactly. And so, needless to say, a couple hours later, the news comes out. Bucky Irving was back at practice. AJ Brown is saying he wants out of Philadelphia. I'm like, yeah, that was a smart, no-brainer decision on my part there.
Did the trade go through? It didn't.
No, it didn't happen. He's like, no, I want to hold on to Amari, and I'm like, well, then why would you come at me with AJ Brown for Bucky? Like,
what was the point?
What was your thought process? Something that, folks, if you have dynasty questions, throw them in here. We'll ask you. You'll ask us obviously, and then we'll give you our takes and give us our thought process behind them. But tonight we're going to be covering the Dynasty Risers and Fallers from October. And so this could be viewed in a number of ways. We could talk about everything that's happened in the season leading up to October. We could just talk about things from just a month of October themselves. We're going to be covering quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. And so I'm going to let JT, why don't you decide, do we do all the risers first or fallers first? How do you want to tackle this show?
Let's maybe go by position. Let's go risers, then fallers at QB, then let's go RB, wide receivers. So you can kind of feel the guys together. Like, oh, who's the guys I should be moving? Who are the guys I should be trying to acquire? Let's go that route.
All right, let's do it. Let's start with the quarterback position then. And as I do that, here we go. There's my show sheet. Aidan, let's age before beauty. Let's start with you, being the younger member here of the show. Let's start with your quarterback risers so far from October.
So you want me to just say both of them right now?
I mean, yeah, give us both your quarterbacks and give us your first quarterback, explain why, then give us your second quarterback and explain why.
Okay, so my first one, I'm going to go Chicago Bears QB Caleb Williams. I think first and foremost, all the hate or vitriol, whatever you want to call it, after his rookie season last year for him. Oh, this guy sucks. Jaden Daniels should have been the number 1 pick over and blah, blah, blah. I think that was way overblown. He had a head coach, Matt Eberflus, which, let's be honest, he was just kind of waiting to be fired. And number 2, he had an awful offensive line. And it's not a coincidence. Now you're seeing with a genius offensive mind and Ben Johnson, he's utilizing Caleb Williams' rushing ability, which is key for fantasy, which Matt Eberflus never came near doing last year. And it's not a coincidence. Ben Johnson, boom, better. Offensive line is way better. But most importantly, Caleb Williams is leading many fantasy viable weapons to success. Colston Loveland has started to pop the last few weeks. Luther Burden has started to get more snaps here and there and succeed. Rome Odunze, I know it's fueled a lot by touchdowns. Maybe that's going to regress towards the end of the season in Fort Worth and what have you. But right now, he's fueling multiple fantasy viable weapons. Caleb Williams, before last year, was a number 1 overall pick for a reason. And my main point is, I just think that hate after his rookie season was way overblown. other than the passing game weapons, he was put in a horrible situation. And now everything around him is better. Coach, GM, well, not GM, it's the same GM, but coach, offensive line, Rome Odunze and Coastal Loveland are finally shining. He still has DJ Moore for whatever that's worth. But yeah, I'm going to go Caleb Williams. And then my second QB riser, and you guys can jump in and comment on these both or whatever if you want after this, but JJ McCarthy of the Minnesota Vikings. I've said this multiple times on the show before. Coming out of Michigan, because of the low passing volume and low stretch situations, I was not a JJ McCarthy guy whatsoever. Going into his rookie season, he misses the whole rookie season with the pretty serious and dreadful torn meniscus injury. And then this year, he plays, he disappoints in 7 out of 8 quarters, gets injured, yada, yada. Everyone goes, oh, is it a soft benching? He comes back, and I didn't expect him to acclimate this quickly, but he's been a fantasy producer. And what surprises me the most is he's a very good rushing QB. I didn't really see any of that in from Michigan the last 2 or 3 years before this. And surprisingly, he has very viable and very high sneaky rushing upside. So to recap, my Dynasty Risers going forward at the QB position up to this point from the past month or so specifically are Caleb Williams and JJ McCarthy.
You know, you look at Caleb Williams so far this season, the quarterback 8 in points per game. Look at rushing attempts, quarterback 7. Something that I always thought Caleb Williams was more of like a scramble, get out of the pocket, throw like off balance passes, kind of like, you know, not somebody who did a lot of design. Yeah, exactly. But the guy is throwing it around, and I love your take as far as JJ McCarthy's rushing upside in terms of something that we haven't seen, which obviously adds fantasy value. And we're seeing no ill effects of the knee injury from last year, nor his injury he had sustained after week 2 versus Atlanta since coming back. And he has like this onslaught of weapons here at his disposal. So really in a great situation.
And Kevin O'Connell, first and foremost, the offensive play caller, pretty good.
The quarterback guru, as it were. JT, could you give us your risers and fallers risers at the quarterback position?
I think those are both great calls. I got offered Trevor Lawrence and Jackson Dart for Caleb Williams like 2 weeks ago. And I was like, thinking about it hard because I'm a T-Law guy. I like T-Law, but man, it's just not coming together. Injuries keep piling up all over for Jacksonville. Now Dart's a little hurt, even though I like him. It's tough, but I like what Caleb Williams is doing, man. I just think he's gotten, like Aidan said, unwarranted hate. Even though he's played better than I think people have given him credit for. And I think coaching really screwed him out in a number of situations that made it look a lot worse. That if it went the different situation, they actually won, I think it would have been talking about the same. So I'm on him with that one. I'm also a JJ guy. I like where he's at on JJ. I think he's going to prove to be pretty good. I think now's the time to get on him in case other people aren't into him yet and don't believe. I think now's the time to get him before his price goes way up. So I like where he's at on that. For me, my risers are Sam Darnold and Justin Herbert. So Sam Darnold, we wondered, hey, Minnesota moved on. Is he going to be terrible once he leaves Minnesota? Are we going to go back to old Sam Darnold, turnover machine, terrible? He's been pretty good for Seattle. And if you're looking to acquire a QB that's not super, super expensive like these young rookies, I still like Sam Darnold. I've got him on a lot of teams where he's playing really, really well. And he's doing, for the price you have to pay for him, I think Sam Darnold is someone you can actually go get. Now, on the other side, I brought it up just briefly before when we were talking about trades. Justin Herbert is a guy who hopefully you jumped in on Herbert before the season got going, because that was when everybody was a little down on him.
Yeah.
They just weren't sure what was going to happen with Harbaugh with the passing game. Everybody's like, hey, is he going to just they're going to run the ball just nonstop and Herbert's not getting a chance to open it up at all? We've seen that's not the case. He can still throw the ball. Man, he looks freaking good when he's not hurt. He played hurt a lot of last year. Herbert, to me, he's a guy that I think is pushing top 5 QB in the league at this point. I really like what he does. He's going to be much more difficult to acquire. I went out and tried to get him everywhere I could last year or before this season. Still a guy I love. Still a guy, like I said, I tried to trade for him earlier. I would probably overpay for him right now just because I do think the upside's there, and he's still super young. They're starting to build a really nice cast around him for once on offense. So I really like him. I think Darnold is the cheaper option, but I really love Herbert. I'm in buy on him right now, even though I know it's going to cost you quite a bit.
All right. Let's get to Aidan's fallers at the quarterback position. Aidan, who you got for us?
Yeah, this first one pains me to say it because I've been a truther of this guy, a believer, if you will, for a number of years. But I got to put a spade here. It is Justin Fields of the New York Jets. I mean, this guy, his whole thing was rushing. That's going to catapult him to a monster fantasy season. Well, we've seen him get banged up a few times and miss a couple games this season, specifically here and there. And it's clear that the Jets are going to move on this season because his passing is just so lackluster and so underwhelming to the point where he can't really function as a real-life QB anymore and as a fantasy viable asset / QB anymore. So, unfortunately, I just try to sell whatever I can and get out from underneath Justin Fields while I still can, because this time next year and going forward, I unfortunately think he will be a permanent backup in the NFL. Can he be a spot starter here and there because of his youth? And I don't think there's upside anymore, but youth, athleticism, physical talent, sure. But if he stays with the Jets, let's say they draft some rookie or bring in a veteran competition and Fields still wins the job miraculously somehow. Are we going to feel super confident in that? No, because what weapons does he have outside? Garrett Wilson's banged up. He'll be healthy, fully healthy next season. It's not season ending, though. What weapons does he have outside of Garrett Wilson? Mason Taylor's showed a few flashes here and there. And don't ask me why they didn't trade Breece Hall at the deadline, but they didn't. It seems like Breece Hall is very unhappy there right now. So it's highly unlikely as a free agent that they re-sign him. That whole Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson, throw it back to Ohio State connection that everyone thought was going to be immediate chemistry. We saw it the first 2 or 3 weeks here and there, but it's not on a consistent basis. So he doesn't have any real, not even reliable, just weapons, period, outside of Garrett Wilson in the passing game. And his passing is very, very sketchy and shaky to begin with. So it pains me to say this, but I'd try to get out from underneath Justin Fields while we still can. And then, Jorge, I know this was your guy going into the season, and we did see a ton of flash from him last year. It probably pains you to hear me say this right now, but it is Bryce Young of the Carolina Panthers. He's just unfortunately regressed. And at this point, we can confidently say, unfortunately and sadly, however you want to look at it, if you will, that the second half of last season down the stretch when he was playing confident was just an anomaly. The connection with Ted McMillan was supposed to be letting sparks fly right away. It really hasn't been. Bryce Young's low passing game numbers over the last month or so aren't going to cut it. I could see them very well bringing in a veteran competition, option like an Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones situation, and Daniel Jones just runs away the job, and then yada yada. Yes, the rest is history going forward. So I can see that in Bryce Young. So two guys that unfortunately I think are headed for backup duties in the NFL going forward with Justin Fields and Bryce Young. Still young and athletic, especially with Fields, but I try to get out from underneath while I still can. And I know that's your guy in Bryce Young and Jorge and my guy in Justin Fields. So it's painful to talk about, but it's just the truth.
No, you're right. That hot streak that Bryce Young was on towards the end of the last season, it just hasn't. That spark has not rekindled. And Canales,
I like him as a coach.
He's great as a coach. I was going more towards the whole quarterback whisperer person there, and it just is not working for Bryce Young. So they got to address that quarterback situation. Andy Dalton's not even a good backup for fantasy purposes. So
he's worse. He's worse. So
JT, who are your followers at quarterback?
So for me, these are two guys that I still am not totally out on. I like, but the value is dropping. Yeah, by the week almost. CJ Stroud of the Texans and Trevor Lawrence of the Jags. Two guys I have a lot of and I like, but man, the value is dropping. I mean, if you would have looked 2 seasons ago, you would have had to give up probably 3 firsts for CJ Stroud, and even T-Law was probably still bringing you 2 firsts and maybe a player or a later pick. the T-Law's value has fallen off a cliff, and the injuries are not helping.
People are out.
I was in on him this year. I thought, hey, we got Brian Thomas, we got Travis Hunter coming in. I like this team. They're going to be in a lot of shootouts because the defense isn't good. So even if the Jags still suck, he's going to put up good numbers. And it hasn't been pretty. It has not been pretty. And there's few of us still holding on. I'm still holding on to my shares of T-Law, hoping. But like at this point, if you're trying to move him, the value is tanking big time. If you still believe, this might be the time to go get him because you're probably going to get him cheap. But again, it's not without risk because
you're not going to get much for him.
Yeah, so that's the tough part on that. And then CJ Stroud, I still like Stroud. I still think they're going to get it together. The O-line's been horrible the last couple of years. He was just at an all-time high after that rookie year, but we've seen it. Teams figure guys out. They have to readjust, get it back together. He's still young. I still like CJ Stroud a ton. He was my favorite QB in that draft by far. I like him. If people are out on him, I'm going to try to acquire him because I still think he's going to be good, and I think this Texans team is going to continue to improve. They've just got to do something with the O-line. You could see it this year. It started last year, but you can see it this year. It's just he's getting guys in his face constantly, and now he's rushing everything. Instead of just sitting in there and throwing lasers like he can, he just feels like – he looks like he is just always worried that someone's going to be hitting him right away. And it just looks like it's shaking his confidence. So hopefully they can fix that. But again, those are two guys. If you're trying to move them, good luck because you're probably not going to get very good value. If you're going to go try to get them, now might be the time to get them if you still believe that they can turn it around.
Stroud was definitely somebody last time we did this for September that I was considering a faller. And, we were hoping that things would kind of turn around. He'd get more comfortable. But I mean, to your point, JT, mentality has to go a long way. Like if you're constantly getting your butt kicked and there's no help around you, like what psychological toll does that take on somebody to the point where they get a little bit too shell shocked and just make a lot of poor decisions? And, if that's how it's been so far this season, who's to say that the season doesn't end with him just, on a downward spiral. So it is definitely concerning. CJ Stroud's dynasty fall there. Good call. Aidan, let's get to the running back position. Your risers at running back.
So first, and this one's kind of surprising to me looking through it, but first I have Pittsburgh Steelers running back Jaylen Warren. Hand up, guys. I was very much in on Caleb Johnson in the fit and landing spot with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I thought he was going to be the bell cow because as much as Jaylen Warren has flashed, and I've liked him really athletically over the last few years in his career as a whole with the Steelers, he's never been a bell cow or even close to it. That was Najee Harris, and then they brought in Caleb Johnson, who I was hoping would become that bell cow. Jaylen Warren just didn't have the build. He's more of a fun, I don't want to say scat back, but like change of pace, receiving option out of the backfield. But now we're seeing this season, especially of late and recently, that he is becoming that workhorse for Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And with Aaron Rodgers, at this point in his career, he's not mobile whatsoever, as we know. He just has DK Metcalf and nobody else. So has developed. So he's checking the ball down a lot to Jaylen Warren, and he's getting a lot of that workhorse red zone work as well as a pure rusher on the ground. So I really like that. That one surprised me just because he wasn't really on my radar, especially for dynasty purposes going forward, but now he firmly is. And secondly, Rico Dowdle of the Carolina Panthers. I've never really been a Chuba Hubbard guy, and even when the Panthers gave him that shockingly big extension just randomly in the middle of the week, in the middle of the season last year, I thought it was very surprising. Rico Dowdle rushes for 100 yards on the Cowboys last year, and nobody wants him. He took a little longer than most would think and usual to sign in Carolina. And then what did he sign? Like 1 year, $1.5 million deal, literally the vet minimum compared to Chuba Hubbard. And he's totally supplanted Chuba Hubbard. I could see Rico Dowdle getting a pretty sizable extension with this Panthers team, and them move Canales and company moving on from Chuba Hubbard, especially if they get some new offensive minds in there with a new QB to replace Bryce Young. I can see Rico Dowdle totally taking over, and they go as far as to cut or trade Chuba Hubbard. So Jaylen Warren and Rico Dowdle, two surprising risers over the last month or so, especially Warren because I wasn't really in on him. But yeah, those are my risers at the running back position.
So let me ask you a question for like a long-term look here. specifically to your point on Jalen Warren. And I get it. We're talking like, short windows versus long windows. And the point of the show is to do it from a short perspective, meaning this past month. But you mentioned how his volume has gone up, his attempts have gone up, his opportunities have gone up with Aaron Rodgers. And if Aaron Rodgers comes back another year and they don't upgrade the weapons, you would expect more of the same, maintaining his dynasty value, or at least seeing it, rise, more so going forward because of the consistency. If Aaron Rodgers is not back, does that kind of make the sell high window for Jalen Warren kind of come down a little bit if Aaron Rodgers doesn't return?
I mean, you can, but I think more so, Jorge, that's perfectly fine because rookie QBs love to check down the ball a lot. So, I mean, assuming they draft a rookie QB, Rodgers has said before, this is probably his last year that he retires. Rookie QBs love to check the ball down a lot. And I think Jalen Warren has proven to Mike Tomlin that he can be the bell cow going forward. So you can sell if you want, but I don't think anything's going to change going forward. If anything, I think it helps if there's a good QB in there who would check the ball down a lot, just like Rodgers is doing right now.
Love it. JT, who are your running back risers?
So these should be guys that are no surprise. And the only reason they're on my risers list is there were questions entering the season about them. And I think people have realized, like, we maybe went a little overboard. And that's Jonathan Taylor from the Colts and James Cook from the Bills. Yes. JT, people were trying to sell him off like crazy. I am winning a ton of leagues right now because I was all over JT and CMC this year. And people are like, they're old, they're terrible, they're always injured. I'm like, I'll take him, man. What are you giving him? Getting him cheap. Well, people realize, JT is a freak. If he's healthy and he actually has a competent offense around him, which he does this year, what is he? Well, now he's damn near leading the league in MVP vote getting. He's been freaking amazing. I mean, he's a guy you could have bought easily for a first, if not a little bit cheaper. Like you could have got a player, maybe a second for some people who were trying to get rid of him. People forget he's only 26 years old. Like, he's got a bunch of good years left ahead of him. The fact that he was falling in dynasty rankings, it just was killing me. I've been on him the whole time. People were ripping me because I still had him in my top 3 dynasty running backs. They're like, how can you still have him top 3? I'm like, I believe in him. I was like, if the Colts can get it together at all, like, he can bounce back and he can be an absolute stud. We've seen it. So that's my little bit on JT. Obviously, very tough to acquire right now. Yeah. I do have some teams in my leagues trying to move him because they're, even with how awesome he's playing, they're out. Their teams are bad. He's like their only good player. So he is someone that you can acquire. It's probably just going to cost you a pretty penny. But if you're willing to do it, he could easily lead you to a championship this year. Other guys, James Cook, they'll hold out in the offseason. Everybody's like, hey, is this it? Oh, he was super touchdown dependent last year. Can he score that many again? And people were just kind of like all off on him. I saw people trying to move him all off season. And we've seen it. He's good. The Bills have been a little struggle, but James Cook has been good all year. And now that he's signed and ready to go, I think people are back on him. They still think the Bills are going to be in it when it's at the end. They're 8, so I'm not totally off on the Bills. But I think James Cook, I think just a little premature on his demise, and I think he's another guy rising. As you're going to get in, the cost is going up each week.
I love it, and I love how on every show that Aidan is on,
here we go.
We have to make a dig at the Buffalo Bills, no matter who it. I did not see that coming from you, JT. So the fact that even you're taking shots on Aidan just goes.
Usually it's Jim telling me.
Yeah, the rookie hazing for Aidan has gone nonstop and will continue to go nonstop until.
I thought we were past that.
Nope. Totally.
We're not done with it until Jorge says we're done with it.
Until 2026, my friend. All right, Aidan, if those are your risers, who are your fallers at running back in Dynasty Value from October?
So this first guy, I was huge on him for redraft this year, especially, but also for Dynasty going forward. Now I'm very much out, sadly and unfortunately. It breaks my heart to say it personally, but it's Tony Pollard of the Tennessee Titans. I thought Cam Ward, he was an underrated pass catcher, Pollard that is, and I thought Cam Ward would be checking the ball down a lot to him. No, he hasn't done that at all. But more importantly, and specifically, if you will, I didn't think Tyjae Spears has done fun and stuff in his career, but because of the injuries, the reports of like, oh, he has no ACL in his knee, and is he really going to survive past one rookie contract in the NFL? I thought you would be kind of a stash and see this year, and I didn't think he would eat into Tony Butler's workload at all. But actually, since he's come back from an injury, they've totally flipped that backfield. It's like a 60-40 split now, give or take a little in terms of like, and Spears has overtaken Pablo. Let's just put it bluntly in that backfield. The offensive ecosystem, the Titans, I believe, can save money by cutting Tony Pollard this offseason, so they probably will. And what team is he going to sign with? Where like, I don't think this is just the Titans' problem. I think this is a Tony Pollard athleticism problem. He's not having those breakaway runs anymore. He's not getting those checkdowns anymore. He's not using the passing game anymore. So what really is there? I don't know. I'm just out on Tony Pollard, unfortunately. Speaking of not using the passing game anymore, and I think this is the perfect time to sell high on this guy, especially for dynasty purposes, because he just came off of monster week for redraft terms. Alvin Kamara. If you can get any sort of value, like a low-end, high-end, second, third-round pick, I would absolutely take that because this isn't going to get any better. There was all these rumors about, oh, he's going to get traded at the trade deadline, and then Alvin Kamara, quote-unquote, shut that down by saying, I'm not going anywhere. If I get traded, I'm going to drink a pina colada somewhere or whatever. But, I mean, Saints for life. I don't know why you would want to be, but Tyler Shuck's in there now. They're probably going to get the number 1 and number 2 overall pick at worst, probably draft a new QB. And Alvin Kamara, I mean, we saw it before Kendrick Miller got injured towards his ACL for the year a few weeks ago. He was eating Alvin Kamara's snaps of late a lot, and now Devin Neal's starting to eat into those snaps. I don't think they'll ever move on from Alvin Kamara because he said he wants to retire as a Saint for life, whatever that's worth. But I don't know. Just as a player, I think he's slowed down significantly. And I think before this gets ugly towards the end of the year, no one's going to want him. And I'm not saying sell him for dirt cheap, but if you can get any sort of usable asset, a flex play, a usable pick, a significant pick, I'd do it immediately.
We got a question from Malcolm here. What do you guys take on the Seattle backfield and Tennessee backfield? Well, Aidan just slandered all over Tony Pollard, so I think we know exactly, rightfully so, for fantasy purposes.
I mean, am I wrong?
You're not wrong. I said rightfully so.
Okay.
The Seattle backfield.
And I was just going to bring it up because that's my faller. So I was just going to talk about Kenny Walker as my faller. So that's why I thought it was a good time to bring up this question from Malcolm. So thank you, Malcolm, with the question. I really like Kenny Walker, but this tells you where we're kind of seeing things. I traded Kenny Walker and Odunze for James Cook and Luther Burden before the season started. And there was a bunch of people in my league was like, oh, man, like, I think you maybe got taken on that. And I'm like, I actually liked Kenny Walker a lot better than James Cook, but I like Luther Burden long-term over Odunze, even though I like both the players. I'm just a Burden guy, and I knew it was more of a rebuild team. So I made the trade, got James Cook. Everybody's like, oh, you won that trade by a mile. Then I turn around and trade the same guy that traded me James Cook back for like a couple firsts and a second. Because now he's going for the title, and I'm like in total rebuild mode. So I like Kenny Walker, and I'm still on Kenny Walker talent-wise. His value is going down, and part of the reason his value is going down, they just use Zach Charbonnet too much. He's stealing all the goal line touches. It's Kenny Walker breaks off a big one, and then you don't see him for 3 or 4 more plays. It's the inconsistency. Now, I still believe in the talent. The inconsistency of how they're using Kenny Walker frustrates me, and I've got this bad feeling that they're kind of setting it up to let him move on. Like, I think they're getting ready to we'll keep Charbonnet. Maybe, they took Damian Martinez late in the draft. He's on the practice squad. I could see them not wanting to pay Kenny Walker a bunch of money, and they're basically playing him like they don't want to pay him a bunch of money. So it's a little bit surprising here. I like the talent, but value-wise, he's going down. If you're in Kenny Walker, you also think he can move on somewhere next year and be a stud somewhere else. Now's maybe a time to strike while the iron's hot, because I do think his value is going down. As I hear people all the time like, I'd rather have Charbonnet, and I'm like, that shocks me as someone who's not a big Charbonnet fan. But I understand it with the way you're seeing the usage. So backfield right now, Malcolm, Tennessee, I think you got to lean Spears as the better player. In Seattle, I think it's a toss-up. I think some people are moving on to Charbonnet. I still am in Walker's corner, though I think his value is falling. So if you're trying to move Walker, I think you move it sooner rather than later, just because of that reason. I'm still playing Walker over Charbonnet in my fantasy leagues, but that's just me personally. But I do feel like Walker's value is starting to take a hit as the season goes on. When the team's playing well, but he's not really getting a bulk of the workload, I think that hurts.
You want to hear it? Oh, go ahead.
So Malcolm has a question. Let's answer it really quickly. In a redraft 12-team league, would you drop Tony Pollard? Aidan, yes or no?
Oh, it depends if you have a deep bench, if you have a deep bench and a lot of roster spots available, I keep him. But if you really need someone to produce right now and push you into the playoffs, you can drop him. That seems wild to say, but I think generally speaking, you can drop him.
JT,
I always hate dropping running backs because I feel like there's no one else out there to go get.
Yeah.
Most of the time if you need them. But again, like Aidan said, if you're in a shorter roster or you're pretty set at running back, I have no problem dropping them in that situation. But I try to hold running backs just because the injuries this time of year, you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, I could see a situation where you'd move on from him.
I'd pick up Spears to replace Pollard. If you could do that straight up, I'd drop Pollard and pick up Spears in the same backfield.
All right, and give us your risers at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, sorry.
Jorge, we got one more question for Malcolm.
Oh, go ahead.
Real quick,
sure.
He said, who do you play this Sunday, Bucks backfield, White or Tucker?
Oh, God.
White's probably the guy you go with. I'm a Sean Tucker guy. I've always been a Sean Tucker guy. All he needs is more touches. I think Sean Tucker is the much better player. In Dynasty, I want Sean Tucker over Rachaad White. Going this Sunday in a redraft, just playing him 1 week, that's a little tough. I don't have White almost anywhere because I'm not a White guy. I'm playing Sean Tucker in a ton of leagues, just so you know. I'm playing him in my flex spot in a bunch of leagues because there's a ton of buys this week. So I am playing Tucker. So on my end, I'm playing Tucker. If you have Rachaad White, are you playing Rachaad White?
I'm playing White because the Bucky Irving returned to practice in a limited fashion, so he could be in line to play this week. And we've seen Rachaad White and Bucky Irving coexist. I think Sean Tucker, if that is the case, gets bumped down.
Rachaad White is the passing game role too.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Aidan.
I'm not playing Tucker if Bucky starts. If Bucky gets in there, you got to move Sean Tucker out. But if he sits another week, I do think Tucker can get some play.
There you go. All right, Aidan, your risers at wide receiver as we're halfway through the show.
Yeah, first one surprises me personally, but first I have Alec Pierce of the Indianapolis Colts. The whole thing with Alec Pierce is he's just a deep ball guy. There's really no efficiency. He scores a ton of touchdowns, and that's it. But if you look at this year, he only has one touchdown, and he's still being very efficient with the deep ball with Daniel Jones. Quick caveat here, yes, Alec Pierce is a free agent this offseason. The Colts traded away A.D. Mitchell, so maybe there was some thought, let Alec Pierce walk and develop A.D. Mitchell with Downs and Pittman. But now I think they're going to firmly re-sign Alec Pierce. They might be a little cautious with that just because, how much are they going to give him? With the booming and evolving wide receiver market, I think they're going to make, over the last couple of years, I think they're going to make a significant investment in Alec Pierce. And he only has one touchdown this year, guys. If he improves that touchdown stability, if you will, I think he could be even more efficient. But going forward, now they might be a little wary of Daniel Jones, the franchise QB. But there's so many weapons across this field, and Alec Pierce is the fourth or even fifth priority for the defense. So that's just where that comes from. And then George Pickens of the Dallas Cowboys, another guy who's a free agent, but they traded a second-round pick straight up for him over the summer before the season started. Jerry Jones did. And Jerry Jones makes some weird and goofy trades, but clearly this is not one of them. They're going to re-sign him if they trade away that much draft capital. Again, a second-round pick straight up. When you're attached to Dak Prescott, when you're lined up opposite of CeeDee Lamb, when you have scored as many touchdowns as you have this year, I think George Pickens, he just, for whatever reason, didn't really fit in Pittsburgh with the style of QBs he's had the last few years in his career. I think Dak Prescott is the perfect deep ball passer for him. I think defenses lock in on CeeDee Lamb as they should, all-world receiver, and I think George Pickens will re-sign in Dallas for a hefty contract. and I think it's always up for him for the future. So I got Alec Pierce, a little lower tier guy, and a higher tier guy in George Pickens.
I think when we do our year in review, end of year's recap, as far as the biggest risers at a skill position, it's going to be hard to take George Pickens out of one of the top spots there. Love those calls. JT, who are your risers at wide receiver?
I was also going to say Alec Pierce. The move of AD Mitchell solidifies Pierce for me. That when they drafted Mitchell, everybody's like, oh, he's the replacement for Pierce. I think Pierce won that battle clear cut, and that's why AD Mitchell was expendable. I fully expect the Colts to re-sign Alec Pierce. So I think he stays. I think he's moving up the board. He's one of the best long ball guys in the entire league. Now that they're actually finding guys that can get him the ball deep.
Yeah.
I'm all over Alec Pierce. I have him everywhere. I know I said on the morning show last week to play Alec Pierce everywhere. So hopefully people listen to me and played him because he had a great game. So Pierce was one of my guys. But other guys, Wan'Dale Robinson. Here's why. Rondell Robinson is cheap right now. You can get him in a lot of leagues for not very much because a lot of people just don't think about him. He's injured earlier in his career. The last 4 games for the Giants, Wan'Dale Robinson has over 11 targets in 3 of 4 games. They're getting him the football. Now, the other thing that killed you about Rondell in the past was the yards per catch was real low. Real low. He's improved at. He's at a career high 11.4 this year. He's already at 602 yards in 10 games this year. He had a career high 699 in 17 games last year. So if he stays healthy, he's going to up that. He's on pace for he's getting close. He had 93 catches last year. He's on pace for right around 90 to 100 and over 1,000 and close to 800 to 1,000 yards. I really like Rondell. If you're getting a guy that's like a third wide receiver or a flex spot, he's been very solid. I like what Dart's been doing. I think I would love to get him so you can get a full year. Him with Malik Neighbors coming back next year as the top 2 guys for the Giants with Jackson Dart coming into year 2. I really like that. So Rondell's a guy I'm going out and grabbing. I like him a lot, and I think he is still a guy you could get for relatively cheap.
Your point in terms of his yards per catch and yards per target, exactly. That's exactly what it was. He was always just the PPR guy, just the reception guy who just would catch the passes and would be one of those guys who would only be viable in PPR leagues because of the PPR, because of the receptions. Now he's getting the yardage as well. Now he's becoming more valuable in non-PPR as well, in half PPR leagues. So definitely love that. Aidan, I am going to enjoy this. Jim is going to enjoy this.
Me
JT
too.
is going to enjoy this. Everybody who's anti-Aidan, or I should say pro picking on Aidan, is going to enjoy hearing about your fallers at the wide receiver position. Who is a faller at your wide receiver position?
I'm not afraid to say this one, man, just because I'm a Bills fan. Deion Coleman, major faller for me personally. I wasn't in love with Brandon being the Bills when they made this selection. I wasn't in love with him going into his rookie year. I wasn't in love with him, especially going into his second year this year. We saw that 100+ yards and a touchdown, and that 15-point Ravens comeback week 1. Everyone says, oh my God, the Deion Coleman breakout season is here. I was always skeptical personally of the Deion Coleman breakout season. And it looks like besides 1 week, I was right. He's a definition of boomer and bust receiver. And I got news for you. 90+% of the time, he's a bust receiver. If I were to move him, maybe someone still believes in him because he's a real second-round pick in the NFL draft, so you can get a relatively high dynasty rookie pick for him moving forward. I don't know. Like, he's just not a QB-friendly target. Number one, he's in an offense that runs the ball a ton with their QB, and then JT talked about James Cook. Number two, they spread it around so damn much where no one can really outshine anyone else. And number three, I just don't think Deion Coleman's a good player himself to begin with. I mean, he doesn't get a ton of targets. He can't separate on the field. All the analytics, like, to put it bluntly, hate his game and hate how he runs routes and this and that. I'm right there with him. I just don't think he's very good to begin with. And I obviously love the Buffalo Bills but from a fantasy perspective, their offense is so frustrating to the point where it's like mind-boggling. Like, no one can outshine anyone else. Anyway, soapbox about bashing my own team over. Number two, Christian Kirk is a follower for me, and I kind of was right there on the edge. Is he a follower or not when they drafted Jalen Noel in the slot to straight up replace Christian Kirk? When they drafted Jaden Higgins on the outside opposite Nico Collins. Hell, we've even seen Xavier Hutchinson become a nice developmental piece, red zone target for them this year, especially when Nico Collins been out that one game specifically with injury. So Christian Kirk has a very long injury history in the NFL. It's popped up again with hamstring issues this year. And going forward, number one, I don't know how much he can sustain with those injuries. And number two, if he's like the wide receiver 4 on this Texans team, with the concerns we have with C.J. Stroud, with the concerns we have with the offensive line and the terrible play calling, what's the point of being wide receiver 4 at this point? So Texans could very well move on from him, and I suggest you move on your dynasty rosters. I just don't see any value in Christian Kirk. That Keenan Coleman segment was fun. I wanted to put it all out there. I know you weren't expecting it, but I just have to say it.
I love your honesty. JT, who are your followers at wide receiver?
So for me, this one really hurts, but Brian Thomas Jr. for the Jags, not having a good year. He's been banged up. The whole team's a mess. Now we're starting to hear everybody like, man, was it Mac Jones that unleashed Brian Thomas? And it's not Trevor. I mean, you look at right now Brian Thomas. I got offered 2+ first-round picks. In one league, I offered 3 for him, and I turned it down before the year started because I loved him so much. And there's no way someone would give you that now for him. I mean, it's not good. You look at rookie year, 87 catches, 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. Right now, 8 games in, he played 17 last year, 8 games in, he's at 30 catches for 420 yards and 1 touchdown. Yuck. Ouch. Guess who almost has as many touchdowns and yards in one more game played than him? Parker Washington on his own freaking team. Parker Washington has 28 catches for 330 yards and 2 touchdowns. Are you kidding me? Parker Washington's a waiver wire pickup, and he's got the same stats as Brian Thomas, who is supposed to be, in some people's minds, he was damn near dynasty wide receiver 1, and he was at least top 5 in everybody's mind coming into the season. So he is definitely falling. If you missed the sell window on him early, you're not going to get that now. I would hold. I still believe in him. I still think he's going to be better, but man, I don't think it's going to be pretty the rest of this season with him. So I'm out on him, and I feel like I'm beating a dead horse on this one. But man, AJ Brown, I feel like it's like every couple of weeks you think he can't get lower, and then he gets lower in value. Every league I'm in, people are trying to move AJ Brown. Like every league I'm in, whether they're contending or not contending. Everyone's trying to get something for him now before his value just completely falls off the rails. I would take him cheap in some leagues if somebody's willing to give him up cheap, but man, the value is dropping quickly. So if you're in a league that hasn't noticed that yet, then you might want to think about selling now, or if you're trying to buy, get in there and get him, see how cheap you can get him. But man, AJ Brown, it's not good. And the Eagles situation just seems like it's getting worse. Hurts is not playing great. They're not throwing the ball well. It never helps when a guy comes on today and says, please don't have me on your fantasy team. He's like, it's like, okay.
What's this
thanks,
about?
but no thanks, AJ Brown, out on you.
All right. As we're getting close to the hour mark, we do have Shoot the Gap, the IDP Fantasy Football Show with Steve Hungarter, a.k.a. IDP Hunter, with JT and myself at 9 p.m. Eastern. Then, of course, we got our weekly redraft show, Fourth and Frames, with Rhett Manuel, Drew Scott, Nate Markham, and Kyle Ziegler at 10 p.m. Eastern. So let's, gentlemen, how about this? For the sake of time, let's give one riser and one faller at the tight end position. And then if you pay attention to JT and Aidan's Twitter handles, they'll post their second riser and faller for dynasty purposes. So Aidan, give us both your riser and faller at tight end. One riser, one faller at tight end.
So for riser, quickly, I'm going to go with my Buffalo Bills again. I'm going to go with Dalton Kincaid. I talked about the annoying everybody eats approach, how much they run the ball. But I know he's hurt right now, but going forward, if there is one guy that has shown he can get targets on a consistent basis tied to an elite QB in Josh Allen, that is Dalton Kincaid, and he has become more of a red zone and end zone threat, specifically way more than he has in the past. He's crushed his career high in touchdowns. I think he has like 5 right now. In his previous 2 years, he had 4 combined. So that's an interesting nugget there. And then you said you want a faller. So my faller at the tight end position is going to be, I mean, just a couple years ago, we were talking to this guy in like tier 1, tier 2 dynasty tight ends, but I unfortunately have TJ Hawkinson. I thought with a young QB in JJ McCarthy, especially going back from the injury, not check the ball down, but they would use TJ Hawkinson in creative ways where JJ McCarthy needed a bailout out of the pocket, if you will. He would throw to Hawkinson. Not the case. They use the running backs a lot in the passing game with Aaron Jones. He loves Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, clearly. And TJ Hawkins' thing over the last couple of years, he's big end zone threat. He scores a ton of touchdowns. That's where his efficiency comes from. So clearly that's not happening this year. So to recap quickly, because of time purposes, my riser at the tight end position is Dalton Kincaid, and my faller at the tight end position is unfortunately TJ Hawkinson.
And of course, Aidan will drop his second riser and faller at tight end on X a little bit later tonight. JT, who is your riser and faller at tight end?
I feel like I talk about this guy all the time, but I don't think I've talked about it on this show yet. Aranda Gadsden for the Chargers. I loved him come out of Syracuse. He was one of my favorite players. I drafted him literally in every rookie draft. The only leagues I didn't get him in were leagues where I was in multiple leagues with other people, and they saw me grabbing him everywhere, so they stole him from me in rounds. So, but I have him all over the place. His value's through the roof right now. If you look in the last 3 weeks, some of the trades going out for him, I've been getting offered like solid players in like a second for a guy that was like a 4th round pick, 5th round pick in rookie picks. His value is just skyrocketing. I love the fact that he's with Herbert. I thought he could be really good on that team. I actually, before the draft started, one of my favorite spots for him was the Chargers. I said that. I was like, I think he could go to Chargers. That would be a spot where he could see playing time early and be really good. They've used him properly. I like him there. He's really a big wide receiver. He's not really a tight end. He doesn't really stay inside and block. He pretty much is running routes all the time. He's a big slot. I love him. Value keeps going up. If someone in your league has not figured that out yet, go try to buy him because he is getting expensive, but I absolutely love him. I probably should have traded him for some of the offers I've gotten in some leagues, but I like him so much. I think he's going to be so good that I just can't do it. I have to hold. My faller, and I hate to say this because he's one of my favorite guys, Pat Freiermuth for the Steelers. Yeah. I still believe in the talent, but for fantasy purposes, it is absolutely no idea week to week if they're going to use him or not. You'll see him 1 week where he looks really good, and you're like, that's the Muth we know. And then the next week he gets 1 target. So this week, I will tell everybody right now, this week, absolutely play Pat Freiermuth. The Bengals are terrible against tight ends. Absolutely horrible against tight ends. So if you're going to break Muth out, and here's what I'm telling you right now, break Muth out this week, hope he has a monster week against the Bengals, and then trade him. See if somebody will take him from you because that's going to be your best value right now. And I hate to say that because I really like him, but it's just he does not have a consistent role on the Steelers right now. It's very, very frustrating if you're a Muth owner like I am.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for Dynasty 365. Thank you all very much for tuning in here on Fantasy and Frames Wednesday. We'll be back next month to talk about the Risers and Fallers from November. As well as get ready for December's Risers and Fallers and the end of season Dynasty review. For any Dynasty ranking updates, head over to fantasyandframes.com and check those out. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, we got Shoot the Gap next with IDP Hunter. Then we got 4th and Frames at 10 p.m. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us at Fantasy and Frames. You can follow me and ask questions at Jorge B. Edwards. You can get JT at JT Orange and Aidan at A. Weingartner 13. So, folks, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your questions. Good luck managing your Dynasty roster.
Jorge, real quick, I just saw a couple of you throwing IDP questions out there. Stick with us. Shoot the Gap. A couple minutes. Ask your IDP questions coming up on Shoot the Gap here in just a few minutes.
All right. We'll be back. Literally, if you're watching us on YouTube, stay there. We'll be right back. If you're on X, stay there. If you're on Facebook, stay there. IDP,
if you're anywhere.
If you're anywhere and everywhere watching us here on Fantasy and Frames channels, we'll be right back. See you all later.